Reach out and touch a soul that is hungry. Reach out and touch a spirit in despair. Reach out and touch a life torn and dirty, a person who is lonely. If you care, reach out and touch that neighbor who's angry. Reach out and touch that stranger who meets you. Reach out and touch the brother who needs you. Reach out and let the smile of God touch through you. Reach out and touch a friend who is weary. Reach out and touch a seeker unaware. Reach out and touch, 'cause touching means giving a part of your own self. If you care, reach out and give your love to the loveless. Reach out and make a home for the homeless. Reach out and shed God's light in the darkness. Reach out and let the smile of God touch through you.
Good morning. Welcome to the service of the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton. Just a reminder, if you're visiting us in person this morning, we can't mute you. So please check to make sure your cell phones are silenced. Now, as we continue to grow in our understanding, the paths to reconciliation with our Indigenous peoples develop and deepen. This morning, we offer this alternative land acknowledgement to further expand and deepen our commitment.
To the original caretakers of this land of which we stand, Toronto to Toronto, the meeting place, and to all that was here thousands of years before us, to the Wendat First Nations, the Wyandot First Nations, and to their allies, the Anishinaabe, currently known as the Mississaugas, residing on New Credit, Mississaugan, by the big river mouth, and to the peace that was made between the Three Fires Confederacy and the Six Nations Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee. That's where this name comes from. Toronto to Toronto, the meeting place where the trees meet the water, and to the revitalization of Indigenous languages, and to wampum belts. purple and white wampum belts, the dish with one spoon wampum belts, the covenant chain wampum belts, the friendship agreement, and to wampum belts that extend beyond here, red, green, and blue, because as long as the grass grows, as long as the rivers flow, as long as the sun rises and sets, miigwech, 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 miigwech.
My name is Tim Versteeg, and this morning I will be your service leader. And our speaker this morning is our interim minister, Reverend Jamie Boyce. Our musicians this morning are Marianne Terpstra and Rachel Derry. Technical support for this morning's service is provided by Brian Carey, Marianne Forbes, Josh McIntyre, John Elliott, and behind the curtain out there, Bruce McPherson. And actually Mary Eve on Zoom. So we got a whole bunch of people helping us this morning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, whether you're joining us in person or in your jammies from home, wherever you are in your journey of faith or search for meaning, today you are one of us and you are welcome in this house of worship. Our mission is to nurture one another, serve the community, and inspire action to heal the world. I'd like to ask Petra Versteeg to come up and light our chalices for us this morning. Our chalice represents the light of hope at the center of our faith tradition. The spark of this flame draws us into our time of worship and community. Please join me in reading the chalice lighting words now shared on the screen with us. May this flame be our light of friendship and love. Thanks, Pat.
Good morning. It is good to be with you today on this glorious, sun-filled day. I open our time together this morning with this poem by Rosemary Watola Traumer. I've shared it before in a few small group meetings this year, and I bring it to you this morning in the spirit of celebrating the seeds of love and hope among us. How it might continue. Wherever we go, the chance for joy, whole orchards of amazement, one more reason to always travel with our pockets full of exclamation marks so we might scatter them for others like apple seeds. Some will dry out, some will blow away, but some will take root and grow exuberant groves filled with long, thin fruits that resemble one hand clapping. So much enthusiasm as they flutter back and forth that although nothing's heard and though nothing's really changed, people everywhere for years to come will swear that the world is ripe with applause, will fill their own pockets with new seeds to scatter. I invite us to enjoy our first hymn, 1058, Be Ours a Religion, and although we still cannot sing, that does not mean we cannot move. Move as the Spirit calls you.
1058, Be Ours a Religion, and I'll sing through it twice. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere. its shrine the good heart, its cradle truth, its ritual works of love. The arts of religion, which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its cradle truth, its ritual works of love.
Our story this morning is written by someone who's well known to the members of our congregation from a denominational event. Let me try that again. From denominational events and programs, the Reverend Carol Matanaco. And she is still active as an occasional speaker, most recently at their Easter service for the North Hatley Unitarian Universalist Church in Quebec, where she was the settled minister until her retirement in 2018. And the story for all ages is called The Everything Seed, A Story of Beginnings, by Carol Matanaco and illustrated by Joy Troyer. Have you ever watched a seed grow? Have you ever noticed how it begins so small, so still, so quiet, like a gift, wanting to be opened, and how slowly it wakes up, begins to unfold, growing into something larger, and larger, and larger? Then you know that whatever comes from a seed usually ends up looking very little like the seed it came from, which is also true of the very first seed. Once, long ago, way back before the beginning, so long ago there was no such thing as time because there was no one there to count it. Everywhere was a huge, deep, mysterious place, like something waiting to happen. There were no stars, no sun or moon. There was no place like Earth. Not a drop of water or a single tree or rock or flower, and no living beings anywhere. But in that deep, waiting space was hidden the tiniest point of something no bigger than a seed. It was not a flower seed. It was not an oak tree seed. It was not a seed of corn, although all of those things were included in the seed. You might call it an everything seed, because that is what it became. No one knows where that first seed came from, or how it was planted, or how it knew, in the way that only seeds seem to know, how long to wait for just the right moment to sprout and grow. But all at once, this tiny seed, cradled and nourished in the rich soil of space, woke up, broke open, and began to unfold, unfolding, and blossoming forth into an enormous blazing ball of bright light, like a great grandmother's son. And the universe was born. Out fluttered the galaxies like a storm of snowflakes swirling and gathered into the brightest, most blindingly beautiful clouds of stars. And out of those star clouds whirled our own star, the one we call the sun, and our earth, and our moon, and all the round, spinning planets we have learned how to name. And this is the secret of that tiny seed. You and I were there in the very beginning. just as the idea for each leaf on a big oak tree lies hidden inside an acorn. We were there with all the stars and planets, all the rocks and oceans, plants and animals and people. Everything that is now, ever was, or ever will be, was inside that first tiny seed. So whenever you hold a seed in your hand and wonder what it could become, imagine how you and all that is here once came from the tiniest speck of an everything seed before it sprouted and grew long, long ago in the way back beginning of time. Now, if this were an ordinary story, it would end right here. But this story of the universe keeps unfolding. What once began in a blazing blossom of light continues every day. New stars sprout open in the deep soil of space. New plants and animals appear on the earth. Seeds of many kinds are scattered everywhere to help us remember. And new people are born every day with the spark of that first light still alive and burning deep inside, waiting. Like the everything seed, to shine in ways that are yet to be known. That's the end of our story. Now, today, you folks have an assignment during the service. Because during our service today, we are going to spread some seeds in a seed mandala in the middle of the sanctuary there. The word mandala comes from the Sanskrit word for circle. And forms of the mandala are often used as spiritual tools in the Eastern religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Shintoism. And it's for focusing your attention, establishing a sacred space, and aids to meditation. Now, in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, mandalas are created out of colored sand. And these sand mandalas are painstakingly created over several weeks with all sorts of instruments like spreaders and funnels to put the sand down. And at the end of these several weeks, they're then carefully and ritually dismantled. We're not going to do that with the seeds. You'll be happy to know we're not going to put the seeds all back in their specific spots. But these beautifully temporary mandalas are meant to represent the transitionary and transitory nature of all our lives in the material world. So this morning, what we're going to do is we're going to create the seed mandala as we did during a service a few years ago. And I think Josh has a picture he's going to share. So this was from the service a few years ago. We're all a bit older than we were there. But luckily, most of us are still with us. And at the end, following the service, I'm going to ask a few people to stay behind and maybe help me take a corner of the tarp, and we're going to go right out that door to our gardens and feed the birds and the animals and the soil in our natural surroundings by broadcasting the seeds widely in our gardens. So as you are called or feel you want to go and add a bit to the mandala, all the instruments are there. I've laid out a number of bowls of things, and you don't have to be a kid to do it. The kids are certainly encouraged to be a part of it, but everybody is also welcome. As you could have seen in that picture, some of those folks had some gray hair too, so you'll be okay if you get up and actually move around today.
This service is alive today. We are moving through it, and it is unfolding before us in a kind of majesty. I love this idea, Tim, that we will scatter the seeds at the end of service. Now is the time in our service when we receive the gifts of the congregation. In the free faith tradition, we are the support and resources of the community. Our gifts and donations sustain the many ministries of this church, a community we have chosen to join and support, and a community that chooses us every day. We will now receive the offering and enjoy some beautiful music.
Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? Day is breaking in my soul. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. They are sowing seeds of gladness. Day is breaking in my soul.
Your gifts in support of our ministries to one another and to the world are appreciated. Thank you. Now, in the spirit of meditation and quiet reflection, I invite us to drop into ourselves, rediscover a quiet center, maybe touch upon your breath beneath your hand, feel your feet on the earth. Welcome the stirrings of our children into our world. And in that quiet, and in that gentle place where we hold ourselves and each other, let us pause. Today, we celebrate the possibility for nurturing in our lives as lived in a glorious diversity of families and bodies. We celebrate love across the generations, parenting, step-parenting, foster parenting, adoptive parenting, grandparenting, aunties, cousins, friends, mentors, teachers, the person we call mom. We celebrate cis, trans, queer people as perfect and loved, however we are born, however we identify. We celebrate those who said no to being a parent and who nurture our world in so many ways. We celebrate mothers that choose mothering And we celebrate children that choose us. We celebrate the choice to become a parent, the choice of bodily autonomy and freedom. We celebrate the love that flows through each of us into the world. It's complicated, Mother's Day. We know that there are griefs of love lost among us, mothers or a parent that left our hearts hurting and maybe unhealed. We know the struggle for becoming a parent, the challenges of becoming a mom. You are not alone in this place. For the empty nester and those far from loved ones, you are not alone. To people who are longing for parenthood, longing to nest, you are not alone. To those who have lost a conception and silently grieve, you are not alone. To those who have words left unsaid, to a beloved mother, step-parent, caregiver, grandmother, or nurturer, you are not alone. As we drift into a time of collective silence, may a love that knows no bounds surround us in care. This morning, I was drinking coffee and catching up on my news feed, as I usually do almost every morning. And I caught a post by a clergy friend in New Jersey. She said this: "Blessings to those giving messages today. It's a hard day to preach." Indeed. As I read those simple and true words, I felt it as cautionary. It is hard to show up and give a message on Mother's Day. It feels full of landmines and hidden tenderness that even though Hallmark would have me believe that this day is as simple as a card from Shoppers and a cheerful bouquet of flowers, I know that's not true. I let this distant blessing take hold, and the coffee began to excite my spirit finally, and I realized, yes, it is hard to give the perfect message. But it's hard because oh my, have things changed and in process of changing, and this, friends, is good news. We are well past the Mother's Day of my youth, the heteronormative holiday that celebrates distinctive and troubling idealized roles about womanhood, motherhood, families, parenting, gender identity, and the romanticization of mothering that erases emotional complexity, the nuance, the beauty, the struggle of human existence. This isn't what Hallmark gives us. I want to name that complexity this morning, that troubled social location of this holiday, and rejoice in acknowledging the changes made in surfacing complexity and living more closely into an understanding of the true expansiveness of our experience. We may be nearing the days when we skip through this holiday and acknowledge caregiving more broadly in our world and in entirely new ways. Acknowledge communities of care, families that expand beyond parenting and allow space for new formations of being to emerge. Sitting inside the complexity, we can notice that it is all in progress, and invite grace and curiosity into our lives as we discover again our capacity to love each other with abandon, like a flower, to blossom and open with the faithful arrival of spring. Journalist and Presbyterian minister Leighton Williams reminds us in an article they wrote for Sojourners, for so many people, Mother's Day falls outside the bounds of easy description. And for a lot of us, it isn't one experience at all, but many all jumbled together. If the church desires to honor the full scope of this day, it should look for ways to acknowledge and embrace the entire complex universe of ways that people experience it. Indeed, it is complicated, this day of brunches and cards and trips to celebrate Mom and all her gloriousness. It can leave out and erase the ways in which mothering shows up in our lives, the ways that we're loved into being in a multiplicity of ways. It can be the person we call mom, it can be grandma or auntie or sister or brother or cousin or teacher who saw us as beloved and held our hand as we learned a hard life lesson. It can be Mother Earth that loves us even as we betray her. And as we notice the complexity, we can also return to the possibility of a quiet, still love that sits at the center of life, the stillness of a seed full of gestating possibility. It starts with the seed, this life, our lives, the lives of everything around us. And our story for all ages was the perfect starting point today. How it invites us into a creation story of the universe, invites us to imagine the tiny suns and planets as seeds of being, and invites us to imagine how we might discover the flourishing of our lives inside the swirling vortex of the very first seed. A Big Bang explosion that unleashes the mystery of life into the world in a unique, beautiful form. The universe as a gestating parent, inviting us into a magnificent diversity of forms and beings and ways of being into the world, all holy, all wonderfully made. Like each flower gathered here for our blessing. It's the perfect story. to lead us into the tradition of flower blessing, a ritual that celebrates community, inclusion, nature, beauty, and our free faith of liberating love. The history of this ritual is important. It began in Prague in 1923 with Reverend Čapek, who wished to celebrate the possibilities of community with a ritual that brought people together and recognized the great diversity of being amongst them. He encouraged the congregation to each bring a flower to the service, and it was placed in a vase. The vase of assembled flowers symbolized the glorious diversity of human community and the hope, the possibility of a world community of peace that celebrates the uniqueness of each person, that affirms the potential of human community to embrace beauty as a door to noticing beauty in each other and in the world. So, let us celebrate the beauty of community today. Let us bless each other with love across the generations. Flower Communion was a celebration of love and hope, and it lives on in our Unitarian Universalist communities. So, I bless these flowers gathered here with the words offered at the first flower blessing, written by Reverend Čapek and presented in Prague in 1923. All human beings are created in the name of joy and happiness, but thousands of troubles surround us, tormenting us with sadness. If a person cannot see beauty in the world around them, then troubles and sadness tie them down. The beauty of the clouds floating in the sky, the beauty of the spring rain, the beauty of flowers, the beauty of friendship and love. May people see that beauty. May true humanity spread out in human hearts. May we all get our daily bread. May people forgive each other their trespasses and not bring each other into temptation through hatred. May peace spread out across all of earth. Amen. I invite our young people to join us at the flower table as we prepare to offer a flower blessing to our community in recognition of the many ways in which we care for and nurture each other. If you are joining us virtually from home, know that we are blessing you too, that we hold a flower here for you and hold you close in our community of love. May each flower, once a seed, bless you with love and gratitude. May we notice the thread of caring across the generations, parents, grandparents, friends, mentors, teachers, magical mischief makers, and comrades in building the beloved community. I invite each one of our youth to go in hand, share a flower with someone, just pass it on. Take your flower and go give it away. Give it to a new friend.
And while they do that, I'm going to play number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit, which Reverend Čapek wrote, both the lyrics and the music.
that we each have a flower, I invite you to turn to a neighbor and exchange your flower with words of gratitude amongst each other.
I love it.
We just reinvented the flower blessing. That was really lovely to hear you recognize each other, to bless each other with beauty, to acknowledge the unique loveliness we each bring to the world. We celebrate today the possibility of a world that comes alive with love. Let this moment plant a seed of hope in each of us. May it be so. I invite us to enjoy, and this is a fun song, Song 1074, which is Turn the World Around. And if you're feeling like it's time to dance, you are encouraged to dance today.
1074, turn the world around. Here we go. We come from the fire, living in the fire. Go back to the fire, turn the world around. We come from the water, living in the water. Go back to the water, turn the world around. We come from the mountain, living on the mountain. Go back to the mountain, turn the world around. Whoa, so is life. Oh, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Oh, so is life. Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? See we one another clearly. Do we know who we are? Do you know who I am? Do I know who you are? Do I know clearly? Do we know who we are? Do you know we I honor? Do I know who you clearly? Do we know clearly? Do you know who we are? Whoa, so is life. Oh, so is life. Whoa, so is life. Oh, so is life. Water make the river, river wash the mountain. Fire make the sunlight, turn the world around. Heart is of the river, body is the mountain. Spirit is the sunlight, turn the world around. We are of the Spirit, truly of the Spirit. Only can the Spirit turn the world around. Oh, so is life a body war. Hey, so is life. Oh, so is life a body war. Hey, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body war. Hey, so is life. Whoa, so is life a body war. Hey, so is life.
Woo! I did see some dancing, and I think we will keep working on the dancing part of our services. I invite us into a responsive reading adapted from John Murin's and Rebecca Parker. It is Hope Rises. The words to this reading will appear on the screens. Hope rises. As from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. Hope remembers. Hope acts. And hope blooms. Go, beloveds, into the world and scatter seeds of hope, love, and amazement. May we each be blessings in the world. And may this flower and may this day remind you that you are loved, valued, and perfect, just as you are today and always. May this day signal a day of hope.
Who knows what tomorrow brings? In a world where few things survive, all I know is the way I feel. And if it's real, I'm gonna keep it alive. But the road may seem so long, and there seem mountains in our way. But we climb a step every day. Love, lift us up where we belong, where the eagles fly on a mountain high. Love, lift us up where we belong, far from the world we know, where the clear winds blow. Some hang on to what used to be, live their lives looking behind. All we have is the here and now, all our lives right here to find. But the road may seem so long, and there seem mountains in our way. But we climb a step every day. Love, lift us up where we belong,